2 years ago, I quit watching the stuff on the internet that guys watch on the internet. And I'm not talking about Alpha M videos. I'm talking about the movies. Today, guys, I want to go over some of the things that happened as a result of me quitting that were amazing. I also want to share with you some surprising things that I didn't expect. And then I'm also, at the end of the video, going to go over a few tips and strategies for you if you're interested in quitting as well. So the first thing that happened when I quit, guys, was my self-esteem went up immediately. And the reason is pretty simple, because I felt guilty every time afterwards I would watch it. Right? I knew that I probably shouldn't, and it was a little bit naughty, and I got a wife at home, and whatever, right? And it wasn't that I was watching like weird, crazy, like animal acts or anything like that, but I would feel bad, right? When you're going to do it, you don't feel bad. And when you do it, boom, that hit of dopamine, that release, you feel awesome for literally a split second, but then boom, I personally would crash. I would crash because I would feel guilty. I would crash like in terms of my energy. I would also crash in terms of my motivation. And that's the second thing that basically skyrocketed, my motivation. And the reason, honestly, was because of the dopamine. Dopamine, that neurotransmitting chemical that is responsible for us going after things, being motivated, wanting to achieve, wanting to go out, wanting to accomplish. And the problem and the reason why so many of us men are struggling these days is because in the old days, if you wanted to get that hit of dopamine, which makes you feel good, right? You'd have to go and actually do something. You'd have to leave your couch. But now this is literally like dopamine on demand. And that's the problem, because instead of having to go out and actually do something or approach a girl or go to accomplish something, right? We can just pull out our phone and we can surf, we can flip, we can go through TikTok, we can go through Instagram, we can go on the movie sites, right? It's all at our fingertips. And every time you surf, every time you pull out that phone, right, boom, your body's releasing a little hit of dopamine. And unfortunately, with this overproduction of dopamine, it basically is interfering. You've all heard about a dopamine detox. This is something that happened to me when I stopped watching the movie. I didn't even realize what was happening, but because I was basically removing myself from looking at the movies, right, there's a big, dopamine detox right there. The next thing that happened to me that I was a little bit shocked at, my sex drive, my libido through the roof, because it was all getting like pent up, and I knew that, okay, if I'm gonna get a release, I need to actually go take an action to make it happen with my wife or by myself without the facilitation of the movies, because that's the other thing I just want to mention. I'm not saying that touching yourself and releasing the hounds solo action is a bad thing, not at all. But for me, it was combined with and usually associated with the movies, right? And so sometimes I would get a little bit like worked up and I'd be like, I just got to take care of business, use my imagination, as opposed to the facilitation, if that makes sense, right? But my sex drive went up. I also found more women more beautiful. I was appreciating beauty more. I also had a much better sex life with my wife. And the reason, and the main reason why I honestly quit was because of that reason. I got lazy. I got lazy in my relationship. It was like, I could go and try to put the old like seduction moves on, or I could just do this right now by myself, quick, done, over, and then I don't have to think about it. I can go home and fall asleep, right? I got lazy. I'm not proud to say that. I'm not proud to admit it, but it happened for me. And so when I quit, all of a sudden I was like, I was a better husband. I was a better partner. I was also a more motivated boss and employee. And that brings me to the thing that I did not expect, and that is success. I truly feel like giving up the movies is a confidence and success cheat code, because you are so much more focused, you are so much more dialed in, you are so much more motivated because you don't have that dopamine being released on a daily basis through unhealthy means. Giving up the movies is literally like a confidence and self-esteem cheat code. All right, it's kind of like fragrance. The way that I think about spraying on a fragrance is kind of like a synthetic boost of confidence, because every time I spray it on, bang, I feel better, I smell it, I know that I smell amazing, and then I get compliments, and all of a sudden I feel better, I look better, I'm like, yo, mama, let's do this. But that brings me to something I want to give to you before I actually tell you a secret and how I gave it up for 2 years. All right, right now, if you guys are interested in trying Legend, my newest addition to the Pete and Pedro fragrance family, it is an EDP fragrance inspired heavily by Tom Ford's effing Fabulous? I got a link down below. I've also got a limited time discount code. It's gonna give you 50% off of this fragrance. Why? Because I ordered too much. And in business and inventory, if you don't move through product fast enough, it's literally like dollar bills on the shelf. And I need the capital that I invested in this fragrance in order to deploy to some other exciting things that I'm interested in doing. And so guys, right now, limited time, and while supplies last, we don't have a ton left because the stuff has been moving because of this discount. I want you to grab this, all right? If you want to help me out, if you want to do me a solid because I've given you great advice, or you just want to smell sexy as hell, you got to hit that link, use the code. Like I said, 50% off, but supplies are limited. Guys, link below, grab it. Legend is a panty dropper. I'm telling you, this stuff is sexy. Something else that's sexy is you. Now, what I want to do is talk one more time about how I actually did it. All right, so the first step in quitting an addiction or something negative, including watching the stuff on the internet that dudes watch other than Alpha M videos, is acknowledging that you have a problem or that you just have a desire to stop. You got to acknowledge it first, right? Most people don't think they have a problem, but they know that it's not something that they want to do. And if it was easy, everybody would stop, but it's not. And it's also something that's so hardwired and ingrained into us as dudes. Every time you turn on your phone or Instagram, you're opening these apps, there are all these women showing their boobs, showing their body for likes or money or revenue or whatever, right? It's everywhere. And so acknowledging that you want to quit is number one. Number two is identify your triggers. What are your triggers? What are those things that make you think, oh, it's time to go do that thing, right? What's that trigger? What turns you on to the point of wanting to go do it? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it the internet? Is it YouTube? Is it a specific YouTuber that you just think has nice boobs that you watch? Is it something else, right? What is it? Is it a specific time of day? Is it every day at 3 o'clock you get bored and so you're like, what can I do now? Oh, I know what I'm gonna do now. What is your trigger? Once you identify the trigger, then it's about making your access to this trigger more difficult. This may mean you've got to remove certain social media apps from your phone, right? If it's TikTok, if it's Instagram, if it's whatever, right? Remove them from your phone. Now, this is going to be a big deal because a lot of people are so addicted to just mindlessly pulling out their phone and looking, even though you're not looking for anything in particular. It's habit. And that's the habit that a lot of people need to break. It's this obsession and fixation and addiction to our device. And so for me, I removed the apps that I knew were time wasters that often would lead to me thinking about sex, women, and going to do that thing. The next step for me was to actually replace the time that I was spending watching with a better behavior. And what did I do? Personally, it was push-ups. This sounds stupid, but every time I would be like, I'd be like, no, go do 20 push-ups. I would literally drop wherever I was. Usually it was at my office because that's usually where and when I would do that thing. I'd do 20 push-ups. And if I thought about it again, if I thought I wasn't done, bang, another 20 push-ups. There were some days where I literally did like 150 push-ups, but the bottom line is that I didn't. I replaced it with a different habit. Now, over time, as you go, this urge will diminish. Right? You won't think about it as much. At first, you're going to think about it all the time. You're going to be like, oh my God, I'm missing out. I wonder what video they posted over on my favorite site. I wonder if that girl did that thing with that thing. Gentlemen, at first, it's going to be difficult. But the longer you go, the more you kind of get into it, the more you're going to realize, oh my God, I feel incredible. And it's kind of like not drinking alcohol. I've talked about this a few times, right? When you stop drinking alcohol, it's like instant. You feel better and every single aspect of your life gets better. I did not expect my life to get as much better as it did from not watching, but it did. And what happens is you're like, yo, I don't want to go back. Now, have I relapsed since I quit 2 years ago? Yes, I have. A handful of times. I get it. Anyway, pun not intended, but amazing. I have, right? I'm going to be honest. I've looked a few times. Have I felt guilty afterwards? Yep, I have. But I also realized, you know what? I was doing it almost like daily before. So what the hell does like one time every like 8 months matter, right? It doesn't. It's better. You're better. Your brain is reset. Your dopamine is better. You're feeling more healthy. You're having better relationships. You're more confident. You're more willing to go up to that spicy ass senorita, because that is another thing. A lot of single guys, they occupy their time with the movies as opposed to actually going out, being social, meeting people to satisfy that urge physically with somebody else. It motivates you, gentlemen. It also improves your self-esteem. That's where I'm going to wrap things up. I just want to encourage you. If you're somebody that thinks you might have a problem, or you just want to see what life is like without it, you're going to be amazed. I was literally shocked at what happened. I did not expect to be as motivated and as successful and correlate success to this destructive habit. Because when you take away some of the things that make you feel bad about yourself or occupy time that you could better spend doing something that's more productive or make yourself feel better, it's amazing what happens. Literally every single aspect of your life will get better, I promise.